subscribe, and like the video. All of this stuff happened because you, by your own admission, leaned into Israel's goals here. Like, none of this stuff had to happen at all. I just want to point this out because I feel like we've lost the plot. It's been like 80 plus days at this point. So people might have forgotten what the inciting incident was. And that was America listening to Israel's demands and being servile to Israel's needs, its highest priority being the destruction of Iran, thought that they could engage in a very quick, in and out, rapid fire bombing campaign that would have decapitated the state and would have left Iran completely destabilized. All of those goals fell apart. And that's normal. It happens in war, right? All the best laid plans in war change the moment that the opposition starts firing back, the moment that the belligerents on the other side start firing back, right? So then they moved into plan B, which was, if we just keep up the pressure and we keep this consistent bombing campaign, we can actually take out a lot of their strike capabilities and we'll be fine. Okay, it's been 83 days, 84 days. America achieved zero of its military objectives. Iran maintained more leverage than they ever had before. They now control the Strait of Hormuz. They are collecting a toll in effort to gain some kind of restitution, some kind of financial compensation for all of the destruction and the death that took place. It's perfectly valid. It's perfectly reasonable. And any kind of serious diplomat would look at the situation and go, look, it's out of our hands. We can't militarily control Iran. It is an unambiguous defeat for the United States of America. But every day that goes on where Iran gets to maintain its leverage and gets to enforce its legitimate right by way of bilateral commitments with other countries around the world is a day where the bleeding continues for the United States of America as the hegemon, right? R.I.P. Pax Americana. Oh, yeah. South Korea has been making some interesting. South Korea's been making some interesting moves as well. It's been one of those far away countries that also obviously is a part of this global security scheme. South Korea has suddenly broken from a cautious Middle East policy, the repeated denunciation of Israel, including President Lee Jae-myung calling Netanyahu a war criminal this week in reference to his ICC warrant for in Gaza. These statements also correspond with an energy crisis stemming from the war on Iran and a decision by Seoul to appoint a special envoy to Tehran to begin re-engaging with it diplomatically. That's a huge bilateral relationship. South Korea is an American military base that is supposed to be a bulwark against communism in the Asia-Pacific theater, okay? It is. That's functionally a military base for America. And now that country that has operated as a major foothold in the Asia-Pacific theater is now deciding we are actually going to break away. We are actually going to break away from the United States of America a little bit. Or at the very least, we're going to break away from Israel, which is an extension of America in many respects, or maybe currently the real dominant power in the room, at least in the negotiations process and certainly in the Middle East and North African region when it comes to American foreign policy decisions. There are huge constellations of countries that depended on the Pax Americana maritime trade system for their economic well-being and were suddenly thrown overboard by the war. If they feel they are no longer benefiting from the system, there is much less incentive to indulge in pieties about Israel and other ideological topics that they entertain just because they were important to the American elites. Now, remember, South Korea, has actually engaged in trade with Iran in the past. If you recall, when the Biden administration unfroze some assets to the tune of $6 billion, a lot of people on the Republican side were criticizing this decision. That was actually Iranian oil that was sold to South Korea, and South Korea had paid for that Iranian oil to the tune of $6 billion. And America froze those assets. America said, nope, flag on the play. You are not allowed to trade with the nation of Iran. You're not allowed to get Iranian oil and then give them money for this Iranian oil. So South Korea already has had, due to economic needs, some kind of relationship with Iran, and they're deciding to get back to it right now because there is no reason for them to maintain any sort of allegiance with the state of Israel, because Israel is responsible, because they're smart enough to recognize that Israel is the reason why they're having an energy crisis right now. Israel is also the reason why America moved their THAAD interceptor missile systems to I believe the United Arab Emirates. Okay, so in 2016, when South Korea took a gamble and got these THAAD missile systems and destroyed whatever relationship they could have with a major industrial superpower in their backyard, China, because this was very frustrating for China. What good did that do for them? What did they get out of this security commitment? They lost billions of dollars of economic activity as a direct consequence of putting THAAD missile systems in South Korea, because China was like, what the fuck are you doing? Now those THAAD missile systems are gone. They took them out. And South Korea didn't want them to take those missile systems out. They paid for it. They even suffered economic damage as a consequence of taking those and putting those THAAD missile systems inside of South Korea. And the American government is like, nope, you have no say in this process. We're taking this back. We're shipping these THAAD missile systems to the United Arab Emirates and to Israel potentially. So if you're supposed to be a sovereign nation state, if you're the leader of a sovereign nation state and you're noticing that the American force projection capabilities are diminishing and you are watching American security partners get destroyed in the altar of Israeli ambition in this region, and you're also suffering directly with this unprecedented energy crisis born out of the military quagmire that America has found itself in, you're going to say, all right, well, we got to change we got to have a real attitude shift. We got to change our calculation here. It makes perfect sense.
Ask you about U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio and what he said there. He said that there'll need to be a plan B if Iran insists on implementing a new tolling protocol for the Strait of Hormuz. Do we expect Tehran to respond to this?
Well, actually, there's two issues on what Marco Rubio has said. He said that there is a plan B, which is mean that there's a new escalation on the Strait of Hormuz. So this type of...
According to KJNOH, the South Korean government didn't even consent to the THAAD missiles. Their military did it without the consent of the government because of NDA order from America. I mean, I don't know the exact details, but that wouldn't be surprising to me at all. It's not like there aren't like we talk about it here in the West as though like everyone loves when America builds military bases and totally avoids whatever kind of sovereign ambition this nation state might have. But there are always going to be naysayers. There's always going to be, protests against these sorts of decisions. You just don't hear about it. You don't hear about it because it directly cuts away at whatever kind of propaganda America is presenting as like the number one superpower in the world. American sovereignty and American hegemony. American sovereignty and American hegemony. America is absolute. American hegemony is absolute. You get a bunch of benefits as long as American hegemony remains. What happens when American hegemony falls apart? All of a sudden, all of these other allies, all these other regional partners, all these other, countries that are holdover states, puppet states, vassals for American imperialism, have to recalculate this decision, have to recalculate these security commitments, because no one, at the end of the day, wants to turn into a missile sponge. No one wants to be on the receiving end of American decisions that were completely outside of their control. In the same way that, like, for example, Dubai was. No one wants the idea of Dubai to be destroyed, or the idea of, rather, Seoul to be destroyed.
Language for Iranian is not acceptable. That what we learned from their previous instance. They are saying that their hands on the triggers in any kind of escalation when it comes to the Strait of Hormuz, when it comes to another round of confrontation between both sides. And about tolls and the revenue and fees, they are saying that we are experiencing that we are providing a security service for vessels that must pass safely through that strategic waterway. And just hours ago announced that more than 30 vessels have passed freely with the new coordination through the Strait of Hormuz, new coordination with the IRGC Navy, definitely, and the authorities there. So what the response is that right now we are controlling that strategic waterway with the new mechanism and new reality on that corridor. So in type of threatening, they are not accepting that, and at the same time they are projecting their new mechanism on that strategic waterway.
All right, that's Al-Miqdad Al-Ruhayd live for us with all the latest from Tehran. Thanks so much, Al-Miqdad.
Hundreds of activists who were on board a flotilla heading to Gaza have been deported from Israel. And they've been speaking about how they say they were treated after being detained.
KJ and No is a Korean journalist, by the way. He appears on Glenn D's and adjacent shows sometimes. Okay, nice. Oh, by the way, speaking of Xi Jinping and his rise, okay, the U.S. paused $14 billion weapon sales to Taiwan due to the Iran war. Remember, in this day and age, if you want to understand the Trump administration, if you want to understand how to enforce whatever kind of sovereignty decision you want to make, you have to be powerful. Okay? Trump is not an ideologue. Trump is not even ideologically a fascist. He's just a self-interested dipshit. And of course, fascism is the lane that he has found a lot of success in at the domestic level, right? An ideological NATO Atlanticist who wants to enforce American dominance would never make a decision like this. Trump did. And the reason for why he did is not because he personally loves Xi Jinping, even though there is a lot of reverence there. He does respect Xi Jinping. But the reason why he did that is because he understands, after trying to wage tariffs wars with China, okay, after trying to wage a war with China and then, eating post-Liberation Day, as I told you would happen, he now knows not to with China. This is a move in restraint. This is a move to dramatically change the calculation between the United States of America and China. This is one of those instances where a lot of people will ask me like, is there anything that you agree with Donald Trump on? Or is there anything that you give credit to Donald Trump on? This is one of those things, okay? Yes, Trump is not an ideological fascist that requires reading, and he's functionally illiterate. He's a fascist of convenience. It fills his needs, is true, okay? So what the new Navy chief said, this guy's also a real psycho. Navy Secretary Hung Kao is a real genuine psychopath, for the record. Another one of these like insane media guys that Trump loves and has brought into a position of prominence. Anyway, he basically said, look, we're pausing $14 billion of arms sales to Taiwan, which is obviously something that Xi Jinping wanted. It's a huge blow to the DPP. Okay. Hung Sao. Okay. I don't. Okay. Maybe that's how you say it. I don't know. Anyway, listen, Hung Sao. This is a major ordeal. It's a major W for cooling the tensions in the Taiwanese Strait, for sure. Mainland China versus Republic of China conversations will take a very different shape if America openly says, yeah, we're not doing like maximalist defense contracts with Taiwan any longer.